The key character of the story is shown with his hands tied and kneeling. He is seen as Liu Man and a novelist and talks that he actually met with the task, and after that he will know if I will die. There are 2 fighters standing next to him, and Yan Lo Wan is sitting in front of him, Lord of Hell. Yang Lu Wang looks angry and accuses Liu Meng of committing a horrendous offense. However, Liu Meng answers in confusion, explaining that he was simply collecting ideas for his own novel and ordering cardboard powder online. He says that in fact he never killed anyone. Love not so long ago. Liu Mun is extremely surprised by the question and finds out how it is connected with the nasty atrocity that he carried out. The difference that prepares his accusation. Lu Wang was upset due to the fact that he watched the television series in the direction of the whole year. Lamang asked if he read Personal Love. Lu Wang sternly told him to shut up, but said, in fact, that it was nothing terrible. In case the love of a bat, he was annoyed and wanted to take revenge on Lu Man asked him, saying, in fact, that he was still not married and did not want to die young. Liu Wang, after that he laughed and declared that he would actually give him a wife and send him back to love in order to help out the universe. Did not have the opportunity, including touching the hand of the girl. 2 fighters grabbed Liu Man and began to carry away his cliques. Lumen begs them to let him out, saying that he is still young and wants to enjoy the other part of his own life, but the fighters throw him into the river, after which the scene moves to mainland city, where people intend around a young man lying on the ground. He slowly opens his eyes and looks at the water on the floor. He looks with his own reflection and talks about who this specious young man is. He has this light skin and he looks, for example, young. This is a Lamang that starts a fresh life with fresh eyes. After waking up, Liu Mang overhears the 2 talking. The woman wonders if Liam will cause trouble again, like him lying on the floor in the early afternoon. The man talks to her that he is famous. Liu Man's castle moves forward and realizes that in fact he has turned into his own personal novel as Li Yugo, a villain who knows how to intimidate only those who are weaker than him. And you get angry and confess that you offended the amorous attention of the head character and was killed by him. But he still has genitals, because Liu Mang continues. The pedestrian notes his unusual behavior and wonders what is actually wrong with him. Lugo wrestles his head against a post and exclaims, why I was reborn as a villain, the devil take it. He sits down and thinks, in fact, that the lid of the world will come exactly the same, but he understands everything. In fact, what happens due to the fact that he is the author of this world. Suddenly a difficult box falls on him, and he finds out who arranged it. Opens the box and finds the pepper powder that he ordered from the internet in the message. He reads the message, which tells that he will be given another chance, and a present called Alamama Legu activates the Alamama internet trading platform, which quickly delivers everything, in fact, that he wishes. He wonders if this is the urban legend they are. Speaking of golden fingers, Legu uses an online shopping platform called Alamama to fill his own aspirations. It is not easy to change their fate, which, no less, he does not doubt that, in fact, with his mind in the Alamama system, he has the opportunity to overcome this problem. Studying the Alabama system, he realizes that the one who gave him this present, Yang Luo Wang, would also have the opportunity to provide him with funds. Lugo at one moment approaches behind a horse and realizes that his Mrs. Lan Meng is actually moving on it. Lugo thinks, again trying to escape. Suddenly the landman hits the ground with a whip. And what are you going scared? He tries to attribute actually that he did not try to escape, but Lan Meng tells him to sit on her horse, while 2 people who deserve close chat about how easy you go before being punished and has the opportunity to be beaten to death on this one. They feel sorry for him afterwards. Sits on a horse, he and land. People start to leave while they are moving. This is explained, in fact, that military heroes are ranked in accordance with to their level of professionalism, ranging from martial lord to warrior. The Earthling, who is only 19 years old, is considered to be described as plausible but critical, while Leyugo is popular as a familiar kept woman, but accepts that Maine, where it is comes out, she talks to him, in fact, that it comes from her. Leyugo touches her own wife Lan Maine and he exclaimed that, in fact, for the first time, for example, he got close to a young woman. However, the ground person is angry and threatening to amputate his fingers for himself time after time, in case he dares to touch her again. He barks in shock and realizes that, in fact, she quite absurd and he needs his fingers to be solid, during which time they come to space in Mainland City and enter into the interior of the earth. Talking to Lego to follow in her footsteps to the temple, they see 2 young women standing there and talking about the known content. for an amnesty for actually not being able to properly take care of her personal spouse. In the end, Legu accepts the memorial tablets of her own guardians. Lady Yugo recalls that its founder is the famous Heavenly Lord of War, also known as the Warrior Imp, but he himself is a loser in the martial arts. Its founder and founder Laming San Huan Yi are considered blood. For example, they did not have to exist together due to the fact that he flirts with other young women every time, but Lan Mang is always close to suspend him, though the only reason Lan Meng didn't leave him is the respect she tests for her own guardians in the wall. Unfortunately, after 6 months, the key character will destroy everyone in Neyland City, which will actually lead to his fall. By what time, when Liu Google realizes his own incompetence, it will be very late, and he will feel sorry for the ground people. Why are you going? Thinking about how they have every chance to develop a personal metropolis in order to repel the impending danger, and he decides to use the Alamama system in order to confronts him and finds out why he ran away again, suspecting that he is actually flirting or gambling. Tells her that they have every chance to help out the metropolis if they have enough resources that shock her. After that he asks her for 100 silver coins, forcing her to turn around and look at him. The ground person asks if he intends he again gambles, just answer, in fact, that he does not intend to gamble, but instead of this he starts a business. He explains that, in fact, the Neyland metropolis is located not far from the verge of heaven, and this is the only road to the city of Moscow where all merchants intend. He believes, in fact, that if they decide to use these travelers, finally understood the story in which they are present and began to change. She was extremely surprised to see that he was actually serious about anything in the first one and wondered if he was really the youngest person she understands. Lugo thinks about himself and checking whether it is possible to use it in the Alamum system, since Lan Meng learns from the servants whether it is possible to use a trusted Lugu, but the Earthlings believe that he really has changed. Leogo. After that he goes to the street bazaar of the mainland metropolis and finds out if he has the opportunity to try out the use of silver coins. There he inspects a personal balance in the Alamama system and is happy to see him or to rob his money. The man grinned and said that actually there was a misunderstanding. He explained that he actually felt the aroma. He made a lot of efforts to deliver it. The man approved, in fact, that the fragrance immediately made an offer to purchase it for 50 silver heresy. Go was extremely surprised and incredulously repeated the required amount. The man continued to offer more funds, but Lehugo thought that the man was acting senselessly. In the end they hit it off on the cost of 200 silver coins, and the man bought Legu pepper powder. Introduced himself, and the man gave him a courtesy and asked how he was obliged to address him, and after that he asked him about where he got it from but let you go. He does not make a decision to reveal the private key, for example, how it has the ability to affect his business. If the Chang is sincere, then he talks, in fact, that you go to his counter and tell him that, in fact, he has the opportunity to choose anything that a desire appears as a present. The layout of the presentation skips the bottle and finds out what is actually inside it, to which Dai Chang actually answers, in fact, that this is an unknown picture of a flower. In fact, that Lugu has the opportunity to drop off and provide his beloved, takes a bottle and thanks to Chang. Before leaving Dick change your minds let you go the obligation he gave him. Let Liaogo convince him that he will actually forget. Afterwards, this Lugu activates the LMAMA system. After that the system detects a fresh one. He has something really needed, however, he marks a word on the screen, which tells that the villain is actually plotting armor 2% for Yugo key character plot shell 98 Yikum, and stealing someone's ability will give him a percentage of the plot armor in case the villain plots. The shell reaches 0%. The cover of light will come before a large amount of your Google was supposed to think that in the meantime, Kong is the key hero of this world and, speaking about the end of the world, it has the ability to mean the end of this novel, but he does not realize that this is actually a plot shell. The system then invites paid news, while a person named Young Admirer. Every Young Admirer asks for 80 silver for the sword, but the client's attempt to agree on a lower cost invites 8 silvers, while another invites 10 silvers. However, a young fan refuses to go below 80 silvers, referring to his own sick wife. The root cause of the need for funds Yun Fang quickly replaces his consideration and decides not to sell the sword, but refusing to release it empty-handed, but at the same time letting you go, meets with a young fan for reselling his own silver coins to a young admirer tell him to save the sword, to which the young admirer expresses his own gratitude, kneeling and promising to pay back Le Hugo someday. However, Le Hugo belittles this gesture and talks nothing terrible. A person approached the Laig who actually suspects that they were elementary to someone gave 100 silvers has the opportunity to be a swindler. Leonie Hugo rejects this idea and ironically over the assumption that he actually sends everyone away. And how? They leave two men criticized to let you out for insolence due to the fact that the faithful governor forgave the means. Unusually, don't they understand enough that the recipient of 100 silver is actually considered to be the sadly familiar Cain of Leogo robbers? Understands the real identity of the thief and keeps it to himself. Liu Guo tells the young fan of Beyond Voyage that, in fact, the young fan does not understand. Stop. Leogo thinks about himself that the Lord of the Robbers had to be saved by a key hero and freeze to death. After that, good comrades, but instead of this he was the one whom the Lord of the Robbers met first. Leonie Hugo thinks that he not only earned 100 silver coins, but also met the king of robbers and got the jewel that he sees, in fact, that his balance is in Alamama. The system now draws up 150 silver, in fact, which forces him to test himself perfectly. He decides to return to the palace, and upon arrival he sees, in fact, what his means, but let him go, allocates a Manga 100 silver and an auxiliary 50 silver of the Earth. Magnus is amazed and learns how he welds, for example, a large amount of funds in a short time. Lugo demonstrates that he actually has 50 more silver coins. After that, with him, the lieutenant blames you for the fact that you actually receive funds from gambling. Li Yugo demonstrates that Liu Tang, his foster son of the founder and martial arts expert, who works under the territory of Meng. Liu Tang, is in love with the land of Meng and about his own history, knowing in fact that a lot of time has been spent since he got married, but they are still dozing apart. Anytime he tries to sleep close to his wife Lamang, she kicks him, as a result of which Lugo decides to doze in the guest room. This impact shocks Landman, and she begins to wonder if she was very cruel to him. Let you go, and after that she goes to the guest. The Heavenly Lord of War and just one of the most hidden manuscripts in the world is called the Hot Sun, a reflection of a deity that has the ability to increase energy in the body. According to the novel, the book must be in the region subsequently searched. Leugu finally finds a glow of the hot sun in the book and feels lucky that she was really there. Clarifies that, in fact, the methods of learning martial arts and the weapon are ranked on the basis of their marks, with the highest mark in this book being considered the highest. Has valuable ways of learning martial arts in the metropolis of Milan. When Liugu looks out the window, which he marks great for his practice, he decides to start his own practice at the moment and experiences how Reiki everywhere around him asks that it be. Leogo's next day was amazed, noticing, in fact, that in just one day he achieved the status of a martials teacher. Practice, he was not in a position to confide in it, and there must be an important gap between any level, which, as he thought, he would have the opportunity to be a genius, but then he realized that, in fact, something not like a reflection of a hot solar deity. It was by this that he asked if he was dozing. Lugu called to her so that she would not come in, but it was very late. Landmang noticed what was actually happening and teased him with his own lucky factor, tried to ascribe it Lugo, but was, for example, embarrassed, in fact, that he saw Abdan, thought that, in fact, Landman would never believe him afterwards, such as the Lambang left. She thought about herself, in fact, that Lugo was this depraved young man, and in fact that you probably wanted to doze in the guest room just for this, in order to arrange it, but she was extremely surprised that in this one he did not flirt with other young women. In the proper scene we see the street of Neelan City, and there is seen a lug of funds. When he goes forward, he thinks that funds are actually the only way to help out the metropolis of my land, but he realizes that this is actually not so. Something is wrong, for example, as the space is seen as very quiet. Being a sharp critical thinker, he understands, in fact, that something is definitely not, for example, wrong. After that he sees how horses are approaching him. Later a man riding horses, talking la. You actually walk that someone just actually bought his life and orders him to die. Lug will find out who bought his life and for how much, offering to pay the double necessary amount in order to help himself out. The person talks on horseback, in fact, that the untruth that you are going has the opportunity to be unable to resolve this for himself. He is obliged to apply the methods of a teacher of martial arts, for example, as he is a military warrior. However, you are satisfied with his technique and the power of his own strike. After that he asks the attackers to reveal the person behind the data and promises to forgive them once the person in the group made a proposal to destroy the teacher of martial arts to let you out, for example, as it was only once of them. As a result of this, he had to invent a project. As one during this time a young fan was noticed and suspended them from attacking Let You Go and gave Lei Yu Tang a percentage of their earnings from their bad actions. Young admirers separate the man's head from his neck. The young admirer will then find out whether they are obliged to excuse the person who was ordered to destroy them or not. Lei Gu talks, in fact, that they have no weighty evidence in the murder of this man. It will only become worse. Young Fanon finds out that in fact he is following in the footsteps of creating the prosperity of the metropolis and the destruction of any danger on the part of the young admirer. Yu Tang agrees and invites you to work. You go, put you down. Lei Gu inspects his personal status in the element system and notes that in fact his plot armor has now increased by 3%. He understands that the key character of the situation Yichen contains importantly more higher plot armor than him and 97%. However, he discovers fresh experience called the rarest probability, which gives him a chance to get superiority, not related to the main plot. Leogo believes that in fact this is the root cause why the key character is so powerful, and it is believed that he can actually freeze this strong with this fresh skill. Excited, quite likely, Leigu tells the young fan to go to the bazaar and earn some money, and after that they both come to the Dechang shop, while Lugo demonstrates that he actually has sweet salt and other spices. However, Dechang warns him that salt smuggling is a punishable sin, and you must hide it. Leogo realizes that the resale of salt in ancient times was a precious product and decides not to sell it, while the person who was eavesdropping threatens them with smuggling bottles of salt. Yes, Chang is pleased that Lugo actually sells glass bottles to him, and Yugo agrees. In the meantime, keeps a personal secret, seeing the huge amount of funds needed, to which Da Chang adds past products and asks him to forget it for himself. As Leugu examines the bracelet, he wonders if the gloomy galactic bracelet is considered. Chang approves that it is and explains that it is actually possible to get silver by simply putting his own thoughts into it. He also mentions that this is actually a bracelet of low quality from the true Zhong Dot, and more high-quality ones cost the same as a 300 square meter dwelling. Cheng further adds that, in fact, ordinary merchants like them have every chance of giving only more low quality. Apart from that, he mentions that musical instruments and elixir actually have every chance. Junan realizes that he is the key character in the situation. Dick Chang cut him off and said that he had intended to acquire musical instruments. De Chang had established him a merchant who sells musical instruments and including fearful slaves, such as Demon Lisp Ben. De Chang suggested that Lugo consider purchasing a slave girl to satisfy his sexual lust. As other men, Liu regretted writing about slavery in his own novel, but accepted that in the antiquity. Lugo was looking at the board when he suddenly took in the fact that the shop of the Negotian Joji was that most space where Ikong found a personal high-quality product. He decided to take a look, believing to find the right slaves, whom Chang had suggested. That Lago took his time and let you go. He gave his consent. Going further, he noticed a tent and shouted that he was right. Suddenly a servant of a Jewish negotiant named Julabai was seen in front of him and greeted him. Joloba asked if there was anything of his own interest and let you go, expressing the doubts of his cunning nature. He did not ask the question about the young woman, and Juleb gave the answer, proper, that he had arrested her from the wasteland and wished to realize her, but that no one needed her and she would quickly pass away. Leonier Hugo introduced Juleb, proper, that he was concerned that his business would be injured in the event of someone like the maiden they see around. There Drew Lobit is extremely surprised and perplexed as to why Lugo is talking anything like. Then this Lajogo invites, so that, because he needs an assistant, Ju Lobis introduces her to him, as your Lobit thinks it's a good idea that they see a girl who's locked in a cage in a bad state. Both thank Lubo and demand him not to create this. Tell about this to anybody. Let you agree, for example, as it is profitable for both of them, and there is no reason to say otherwise. Afterwards Liugo approaches the young woman and talks to her to take the pill. The woman takes the pill and comments that you are cheating. Yugo wished someone to be his guinea pig. Afterwards the woman realizes that her wounds have quickly healed. Legu puts his hand on the young woman's head and tells her to go home with him. But the woman finds out if anyone who has a home for someone like her. At one point the boy is seen and talks to La. Proper you go to forget the girl in peace. The boy is seen as Yi Chom, the world's most honorable martial arts mentor and upcoming martial arts master, just like you. Realizes that the challenge is still considered an unconventional key character. his blade accusing him of delivering the problem as a concubine. A woman hides behind the deception. Yugo scared though. The woman defends, letting Yugo claiming that he bailed her out and healed her wound. Chao's attacks give you an opportunity to fire with great power, causing him to collapse. He issued a challenge and threatens to destroy La Going's anger. The connoisseur of Xia comes and recognizes Yi Chong, in fact, what he is cooking. Yi Shang replies that it's not really his fault and blames Lego. Keximan looks at the story and realizes that actually the person causing the problem is Li Yugo. He apologizes on behalf of his own student and invites you to let you out with the true sacred medicine Zong, any of whom are shocked by this turn of events are lying. You go, and after that you will know that Simon is a familiar expert from the true zone and the offspring of John. The man, once one of the key intruders, Leugu, realizes that both villains are actually present, with reference to anxiety and, in fact, that all this is a misunderstanding and, in fact, that he was lucky, in fact, that people from exile suspended the young admirer. The young admirer apologizes too. That from time to time a young admirer is noticed and says that he is actually here in order to help out his own owner. Leogo learns why they are aiming at him, for example, how they don't even understand who they are electing. The territory accepts the young admirer as the Lord of Robbers, and he expresses his amazement on the pretext of such, in fact, that you are deceiving, like some kind of young admirer, like his right hand, Leogo. After that, talking to the former men of Mankasai, in case this is the case, they are still angry, and he asking his own owner,